My name is Lee Hansen, and I'm going to be your master of ceremonies today, and my job is to see to it things move as quickly as we can possibly make it so we can stay as warm as we can. I've been asked to give a little bit of the background that I have for the reason for my being up here, I guess, and I've been a member of Rotary for about 24 years, and I've been a past president of the Rotary Club of Port Huron, and I'm a past officer of Rotary International. And I think it's rather interesting that we have this kind of a celebration this year. Not only is there a 125-year celebration going on, there's a 100-year celebration going on behalf of Rotary International. It's interesting that that took place, the founding of Rotary took place 25 years after the electric light bulb was invented by Thomas Alva Edison. And the fact that you're going to hear more details on this too later on, but the fact that the Rotary Rock, as we've come to call it, that's under this parachute over here, was put in place only 9 years after the Rotary Club itself here in Port Huron was founded. That was in 1920. So there'll be some historical dates flowing around, but to give you kind of a general idea, that's the way things have kind of progressed. Rotary, of course, was just very, very proud to be able to be an organization in this city and to be able to bring a rock of this size to put it in place on behalf of honoring the invention of the electric light and also of Thomas Alva Edison, who as a boy spent some time right here in Port Huron and lived not too far from here, as the rock says. A couple of quick announcements before we start making some introductions. We've had a number of people who have asked about tickets being available for the Rotary Luncheon that will be tomorrow noon at the Edison Inn. We've moved the time of our regular meeting from Thursday till Monday noon. There'll be a number of other Rotary clubs present, and it'll be a rather large gathering, but it is open to the general public. And so as soon as we're done with our program here, I believe the ladies, why don't you stand and kind of wave your hand there. We got 3 or 4 or 5 that are scattered around, and you're going to be doing it right in here or over in the far corner. There's a table over there. So if anyone is interested in purchasing tickets, by all means, please see them afterwards, and they'll be available for that. I think I'd like to call attention to these lovely shivering flowers that are up here on the stage. They're doing all right so far. But the Blue Water Garden Club is responsible for having those here, and we're delighted to have them participate in this. Thank you. I think they deserve a round of applause for that. We also owe a lot of thanks to a lot of different organizations, not the least of which is the museum, and also the city has been very much involved with putting on these proceedings this week, and we're just delighted to have that happen, and that all of you are here and taking part in this kind of a kickoff thing for this week's activities. So that's very, very important for us. I'm going to introduce now Jo Burgett as the general chairperson of the celebration, and she's got some basic information for you here. Jo?
I just want to say good afternoon and welcome to the 4th annual celebration of light. And also the commemoration of the 125th anniversary of the light bulb. This is a much larger crowd than we've had the last 3 years, but welcome all of you. I just wanted to say that during the past 4 years as the site manager at the depot, I've had the honor and the opportunity to share stories and anecdotes of the life of young Al Edison with thousands of people from all corners of the world. One of the conversations that has impacted me the most was with a family from India. It was a 3-generation family, and it was a very slow afternoon, and I had the opportunity to spend nearly an hour with the family. As they were getting ready to leave the depot, the grandmother pointed to the light switch on the wall, and she said, "For your entire life, you've always been able to go over and flip a switch, and the lights have come on." She said that is not the case in our world, in our third world country, even today. She began to weep, actually, and she said, "You do not know what an honor it is for me to stand in this place where he worked, for my grandchildren to walk in this place where he played." So today I want to tell you what an honor it is for me to stand here in this place with all of you, where he walked, where he played, where he dreamed, and where he imagined. People here thought he was crazy, lazy, and foolish. Some folks thought he would never amount to anything, but he went forth from this place and changed the world. I can't tell you what an honor it is for me today to have 11 descendants of Thomas Edison, his great-grandchildren, great-greats. You'll have an opportunity to see some of those folks in a second, and I don't want to steal whoever's thunder it is that gets to introduce them to you. But I wanted to tell you that, Thomas Edison didn't do it alone. Before Bill Gates and Microsoft, he built the very first brain tank with the brightest and best minds that have ever inhabited this planet. Among them was a man named Edward C. Acheson. Mr. Acheson worked side by side Thomas Edison and was able to develop the carbon filament that made the light bulb work. Today we are honored and blessed to have descendants of both families, the Edisons and the Achesons, here with us on the stage this afternoon. Just like Thomas Edison and Bill Gates, I discovered quickly that to create a huge event, especially a successful one, you have to find the brightest and the best talent that you can gather together. It has been my great fortune to know some of the brightest and most wonderful people in the world. So those are the folks I went to first for help. I would like to thank the entire Celebration of Light Committee. You know who you are. If you're in the crowd, you can wave. But there's a whole bunch of us, and we worked really hard to make all of this happen for you. I especially would like to thank Karen Thompson, who was my vice chair, John Hauser, our other vice chair, and our Rotary liaison. Ernest C. Worth wrote a play and directed it. His cast is probably here among us. A lot of them are in period clothing. Anne Brown, who arranged the stamp cancellation that we're going to do later on in the week. And of course, T.J. Gaffney, who arranged the rail weekend that we're going to experience next Saturday and Sunday. So I just want to tell you, we've mentioned the luncheon already. The dinner for tomorrow night is sold out, which yeehaw to the whole team that sold those tickets and made that happen. Sorry if you're not going to be with us, but it's going to be a terrific event. Thursday, we're going to do the lighting of the bridge. Candace Miller's going to share with us in that event. It's going to be a historical event, and it's going to be a terrific thing. And that's at 6:30 at the Blue Water Bridge. Following that, Ernest's group will do play at the Fine Arts Theater at about 7:30. And then on Saturday and Sunday, the 23rd and the 24th, we have a steam locomotive that's going to run out here on the track. It'll be the first time there's been steam on this track since the early 1970s. And we're going to have a little bluegrass festival going on at the depot at the same time. So we hope that you'll participate in everything. And you're certainly welcome to be a part of any and all of it. But thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks very much, Joe. We appreciate that. I'm going to ask Reverend Thomas Seppo to come on up here for an invocation for us, if you would, please. Tom?
You're not going to blame me for this weather because it's not raining, all right? Let's bow for a word of prayer. Our dear Heavenly Father, as we are gathered here this afternoon, we take time to thank you for this beautiful blue water area and to reflect upon our past. In just a few hundred years, this landscape has changed so much along our gorgeous stretch of water. From the American native people to the French, then English, to those who aided the Underground Railroad, and to our very own young Thomas Alva Edison. We are so blessed and thankful that we can rededicate this rock and city to commemorate the life of one who literally gave light to the world. Help us to remain faithful to the mission of teaching and training the following generations about the possibilities that can be reached and the dreams that can be accomplished without leaving one child behind. It's for this purpose that we rededicate this land today, for it's in Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Thank you very much, Tom. We appreciate that. Now we're in for kind of a treat. It's part of our opening ceremony, and we're going to have the combined bands of the Port Huron Northern and Port Huron High School. The director of Port Huron High is Dan Griffith, and of Port Huron Northern, Eric Senkmajor, and they're going to play the national anthem. If you'll all please rise. Thanks very much to the band members for being out here on a chilly afternoon and taking part in this. That's really very fine. I'm now going to ask Mayor Mark Neal to come forward to give us an official welcome. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Lee. It's my pleasure as the mayor of the city of Port Huron to welcome all of you to this special occasion today. I'm proud on behalf of my fellow council members and the citizens of Port Huron, as well as the community, Blue Water area community, to welcome Mickey Rooney, his wife Jan, and Chris, his son Chris, along with members of the Edison family. We also have Congresswoman Candace Miller, as well as the director of the United States Mint, Henrietta Holzman IV, and other attending dignitaries. In 1929, the Rotary Club of Port Huron placed this 61-ton boulder to commemorate the 50th anniversary of the light bulb, as well as a lasting memorial to Port Huron's favorite son, Thomas Edison. Today, we rededicate the Rotary Rock to celebrate the 125th anniversary of Edison's greatest invention, the light bulb. Enjoy the festivities and enjoy our wonderful community. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mark. We appreciate that. I'm now going to introduce Steve Beta, who's representative of the 25th District in Michigan and one of the architects of the commemorative coin, who also has an introduction to make. Steve?
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. I can't help but comment on the fact that in February when we released the coin, it was an outdoor ceremony in Greenfield Village. It was a cold day. And today we're here again in October, and it's also a cold day. And I wish that Edison had the common sense to have been born in a warmer weather and invent his things in warmer weather. That being said, it is a pleasure to be here. You're probably wondering why a state representative from Warren and Sterling Heights is up here in Port Huron. And the reason is it's about 12 years ago, I came up with an idea for a commemorative coin for Thomas Edison. And it took a lot of persistence on my part, 3 sessions of Congress before the legislation was finally signed into law in 1998. And it celebrates the 125th anniversary of the invention of perhaps Edison's most renowned invention, the incandescent light bulb. Now, I have it on good authority. He invented over 1,700 patents he holds, and I know that a number of those patents were instrumental in the development of the portable space heater as well. So we'll keep that in mind when we're thinking about Edison today. The coin, incidentally, was issued earlier this year, and it is available through the United States Mint. And that being said, it is my great honor to introduce, you've heard the term, show me the money. Well, I'm going to show you or introduce to you the person who is responsible for the coinage of the United States. And it's the director of the Mint, Henrietta Holsom Ford.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much. It's great to see so many hearty souls out here, and I'm a sailor, so I loved our welcoming toots. Good afternoon, Congresswoman Miller, state officials, Mayor Neal, Mr. and Mrs. Rooney, Edison, as well as Atchison descendants, Port Huron Rotary, and Chair Burgett. Thank you all so very much. On behalf of the 2,000 women and men of the United States Mint, thank you for inviting us to share this very historic moment. This 62-ton boulder, like the remarkable achievements of the man for whom it is dedicated, has endured. When the citizens of Port Huron gathered here 75 years ago, Thomas Edison was still at work, still questioning the limits of what he knew. Now Edison's light bulb has reached its 125th anniversary, and with this rededication, we reaffirm our belief in the value of an unshakable work ethic of our nation's greatest inventor. The United States Mint is honoring Mr. Edison with a production of a 2004 Thomas Alva Edison commemorative coin. It recognizes Edison's greatest accomplishment, which was to gather light in an electrified filament, harness it under glass, and give it to the world with a flip of a switch. Even if it is not yet in the entire industrialized and developing world. But available this week in Port Huron is the Thomas Alva Edison commemorative collector set that lights up to reveal a commemorative coin inside. And we think that Edison would really have liked this one. So here it is. The light actually lights up. Okay. A portion of the proceeds from the sale of these coins will be paid to the Port Huron Museum and 7 other organizations throughout the country to expand their educational programs. I thank the members of the Port Huron Rotary Club for choosing to encapsulate this commemorative coin on the boulder's rededication plaque. For thousands of years, coins have often been the most lasting physical reminders of a society and the values that it holds dear. And because of you and your children, your grandchildren will return to this beautiful park in another 75 years to celebrate the incandescent light bulb's 200th anniversary, and to honor the man who lived among you for 9 years, while his father, Sam, served in a variety of capacities in this town. Thank you so much for including 2 of our coins on the rededication plaque. We get used to flipping coins over at the United States Mint, and on this boulder, it would not have been a possibility. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Those coins are available for purchase at this point. I've had people asking where they might be able to purchase them right after the meeting. Is there going to be, there'll be a chance?
At the depot.
At the depot. They'll be available at the depot for purchasing. So that'll be fine. Thank you. I've got some very special guests now that I'd like to introduce, and I'm going to ask this particular group, which happens to be the Edison and Sloan families, to stand as I mention your name. And then if you'll remain standing, and if we'll hold the applause until we've finished with the entire group, it'll save us a little bit of time as we go through various introductions like that this afternoon. We do know that Thomas Edison Sloan Jr., as a trustee and great-grandson, is not going to be able to be here today. We're sorry about that situation. At this point, I'm going to introduce David Edward Edison Sloan, the great-grandson, Bonnie F. Sloan, that's Miss, there we are. Hi, Bonnie. Rachel Edison Sloan, David Edison Sloan, Sarah Edison Sloan, Elizabeth Eliana Edison Sloan, there she is, C. Barry E. Sloan, we're going to hear from him a little bit later on, Diane Sloan, Robert K.L. Wheeler, who's president of the Milan, Ohio Birthplace Museum and a great-great-grand-nephew, Linda Wheeler, and Kathleen Alexis Wheeler. Let's welcome them, please. Thank you. And we can wait. That's good. Thank you. Now we have a number of other special dignitaries here, and if we can do the same thing with this group, it'll save a lot of time, but I'm sure the people understand the time elements, but we very definitely want to recognize them here. First of all, we're going to ask this group to stand individually. James Atchison, as grandson of Edward Atchison. Jim, if you would please. Tom Hutka. Why don't we hold the applause till we have the group? That would be fine. Tom Hutka, city manager. Let's see. We had invited Lauren Hager to be here. He was not able to be. Steve Eathart is not, and Judd Gilbert unfortunately had another conflict, so he couldn't be here. George Watson, Port Huron Rotary president. George, where are you? Okay. Virginia Hayes Hamilton, the daughter of Dan Hayes, who was the president of the 1929 Rotary Club. I believe Leroy Stevens, you're over on this side someplace. If you would please, a great nephew of Rotarian Walter R. Stevens, who organized the moving of the Rotary Rock from Kindy, north of here. Also there at the tent, the twin sisters, Jean Powell Brogan and Shirley Powell Frank, who were at the Rock dedication in 1929 and the Rooney celebration in 1940. There they are. Good. We have Dr. Charles Kemp, who is a longtime historian of our Rotary Club. And then also Bernie Lyons. Bernie, would you stand, please? Bernie Lyons, a longtime Times Herald columnist, has written a great deal about Rotary Rock and a lot of other things in this town, as well as Edison's story and all. So let's give all of these people a wonderful hand, please. Now, I'm going to ask Marcia Haynes, who's kind of Port Huron historian extraordinaire, to come on up here and give us a few minutes of the history of the Rotary Rock. If you would, please, Marcia.
Well, this celebration is really about vision and ingenuity. 75 years ago, a group of Rotarians, and as Lee said, that only had the club for 9 years, decided because of the 50th anniversary of the light that there should be some lasting memorial to Thomas Alva Edison, showing the world that he lived here in Old River City. Well, of course, they batted around the idea, what would be the thing that they could do? Well, they came up with the idea of a rock, no less. Well, then, where to find one? Well, they sent out newspaper articles around the thumb of Michigan, and a gentleman from Bay City, a man by the name of Mr. Wallace, got hold of Mr. Stevens, Walter Stevens, who was the chairman of the committee, and said they had the most magnificent rock in Archie Toner's farm north of Kindy, Michigan, 90 miles away. Well, of course, the Rotarians thought, how are we ever going to get that back here? Well, thank heavens, Dan Hayes, Ginny's dad, was the president of Rotary, and guess what? He worked for the Detroit Edison. And so he talked the Detroit Edison into moving the rock from Kindy, Michigan. It took 9 men, 2 days alone. They had to dig the rock out of 4 feet of ground. It then had to go 1,000 feet on like slides to get it near a train track. Then they had to get it on the flatbed of a train. And back in those days, the train track came through Pine Grove Park. And some of you, until 1971, we had a train coming through this park. Well, needless to say, they got it on the train and they got it down here. And so it really wasn't moved too far from the train track to be rested there. It is 10 feet high, 14 feet wide. And here is from the records of Rotary. They spent $2 to a man by the name of H.C. Dinkelberg for the print of Thomas Edison's home. They spent $300 for the 2 feet by 3 feet bronze marker. And guess what? They had to send Archie Toner $28.80 because he was a little ticked off that we destroyed his bean field. And so, now maybe some of you would like to know what's on that marker underneath that wonderful parachute. It reads, "This boulder is placed in honor of Thomas Alva Edison on the playground of his youth near the house in which he lived. During the formative period of his life, from 7 to 16 years of age, 1854 to 1863, the house erected in 1840 on the Fort Gratiot Reservation by Chancellor Walworth of New York for his daughter, and occupied by Samuel Edison, the father of T.A. Edison, from 1854 to 1864, stood about 1,800 feet north and 25 degrees west from this stone, erected by the Port Huron Rotary Club in 1929. Now, here's the rest of the story. It took 50 years to figure out where this 800 feet north and 25 degrees west was. How it happened, a group of us were trying to save the railroad depot out on Railroad Street. A lot of publicity, and of course we lost that fight. But out of the blue, a man by the name of Bob Gray that had worked for the railroads here in town called me and said he had a copy of a letter from Henry Ford to the head of the C&O Railroad and wanted permission to send 2 of his workmen up to dig the site of Thomas Edison's home on the corner of Erie Street and Thomas. Now, why couldn't the Rotarians, and I'm a member of them, put that on the plaque? We would have been able to do archaeology a lot sooner. But needless to say, talked the city of Port Huron into buying the site. The city of Port Huron, you, the people of Port Huron, bought the site of Edison's home for $10,000. We then set out to find an archaeologist. And I'd like Dr. Richard Stamps, who's way back in here, to stand. For over 10 years, Dr. Richard Stamps connected with Oakland University. We then also got St. Clair County Community College involved, and for close to well over 10 years, we dug the site of Thomas Edison's home. And of course, all of those artifacts are now housed in the little depot that he worked out of. Now, the rest of the story, the final rest, is of course what happened with the site of Edison's home. Well, I want you to know, in front of 2 of the condos on Edison Shores, the city of Port Huron still retains the ownership in the site of Edison's home. Nothing's built on it, it's just nice grass, and we still have it. And so all of these wonderful things have happened to Port Huron because a group of men so long ago from Rotary decided 75 years ago that a lasting memorial to Thomas Alva Edison, letting the world know forever that he lived here in Port Huron. And thank you, Rotary, for doing that.
Thank you very much, Marcia. Kind of an interesting story, and I can tell you that a lot of that history was written by our friend, the columnist right over here. So Bernie's done a wonderful job on keeping everything in a record case, and we appreciate that very much, Bernie. We now have a few short letters that we'd like to read to you as commemorative letters, but from people who were not able to be here, but we had invited because of their involvement in one way or another in the industry. I have a letter here from the Secretary of Energy in Washington, D.C. Dear friends, I'm sorry I cannot be with you as you celebrate the 125th anniversary of Thomas Edison's revolutionary invention, the light bulb. How lucky we Michiganians are to claim Thomas Edison as one of our own. I applaud you all for your dedication to continuing to educate Americans about his work. As Secretary of Energy, I've become keenly aware that our country must cultivate more science and math experts or face a scientifically illiterate nation in the 21st century. Efforts like yours to keep alive the memory and work of Thomas Alva Edison, to help young people learn about his incredible imagination, his perseverance, and his accomplishments will undoubtedly help more young people become interested in the fields of math as well as science. I'm certain that with the encouragement of people like you, our country will produce many more inventors whose inventions we cannot even fathom today in our wildest imaginations. For as Edison himself said, quote, "If we all did the things we really are capable of doing, we would literally astound ourselves," unquote. I wish you a very successful celebration, and it's signed Spencer Abraham. Now, I'm also going to ask to come up here to read another very special letter that we have here. Jim Bright, the Executive Director of Public Affairs for Ford World Headquarters, will read a letter from Mr. Ford. If you will, please, Jim. Here you are, right behind you. Thank you.
And this is to Mr. John Hauser and to his fellow Rotarians. Thank you for allowing Ford Motor Company to share in today's celebration. My great-grandfather Henry Ford deeply admired Thomas Edison, and they shared a great friendship. It is one of those happy circumstances that they appeared on the American landscape at the same time in history. They were afforded the opportunity of sharing their passion for science, invention, and advancing the quality of life, and they enjoyed a deeply rewarding history together. Today, during the rededication of Rotary Rock, as you remember Mr. Edison and his friends, the story of his life and his contributions to the world, you honor the gifts and spirit of a great American. On behalf of Ford Motor Company and the Ford family, I am pleased to extend my best wishes to the Rotary Club of Port Huron and your special assembled guests for a wonderful celebration and a most memorable historic day. Bill Ford, Chairman and CEO of Ford Motor Company.
Thank you very much, Jim. I'm going to ask Ray Bolyart to come on up. He's DTE manager and will be reading from the DTE Chairman and Executive Officer's office. If you would, please.
Thank you, Lee. This letter is addressed to Mr. Hauser and the Port Huron Rotary. As we celebrate the 125th anniversary of the light bulb, it is fitting to pay tribute to the city of Port Huron, home to Thomas Edison during most of his formative years. Edison's lifetime of achievements weaves a multifaceted story of creativity, family support, adversity, perseverance, and ultimate triumph as one of the greatest inventors of our time. DTE Energy is proud to support this historic anniversary by partnering with the Port Huron Rotary to rededicate the monument at Pine Grove Park that honors Edison's many contributions to society. With more patents to his name than anyone in U.S. history, he remains a symbol of American ingenuity some 75 years after his death. Edison once remarked, "If we did all the things we were capable of doing, we would literally astound ourselves." These powerful words are a wonderful reminder of the untapped potential in all of us. On this milestone anniversary of the light bulb, let us honor Thomas Edison by living his words. Let us take advantage of every opportunity, every day, to make our world a better place. My special thanks to the Port Huron Rotary and Thomas Edison Depot Museum for their efforts to keep Edison's legacy alive. Sincerely, Fred Schell, Executive Vice President, DTE Energy Corporate and Public Affairs.
Thank you very much, Ray. One final letter that's rather important, we feel, and we're delighted to be able to have this. The heading of the letter is the White House, Washington. I send greetings to those gathered to celebrate the 125th anniversary of the light bulb and to rededicate the Port Huron Monument to Thomas Edison. American inventor Thomas Edison transformed the world by designing a compact lamp that could be easily distributed and mass-produced. His inventions influenced the way people work, play, and live. Edison's remarkable achievement in developing the light bulb reflects the American spirit of ingenuity, creativity, and optimism, and has contributed to the progress of all humanity. I commend the work of the Port Huron Rotary Club and the Thomas Edison Depot Museum to maintain Edison's legacy and inspire future generations of Americans to explore and discover. Your efforts to mark this milestone remind us all of our nation's technological achievements, and Laura joins me in sending our best wishes, George W. Bush. I am remiss in not recognizing the help here from Jennifer McNamara for all the signing that she's doing, standing right there with her bare hands and doing all of this kind of thing. Thank you very much, Jennifer. I now will reintroduce C. Barry E. Sloan Jr., Edison's great-grandson, for short comments. Thank you.
It's a genuine pleasure to be here again in Port Huron. Last time I was here 15 years ago was for the dedication of the statue of young Thomas Edison with the produce cart. And the community spirit I witnessed then appears to be even stronger now than it was then, if that's even possible. But I applaud you. I was asked to speak a little bit about Thomas Edison, and when I get to an event like this, not only is there a celebration in my mind, but there's a certain amount of reflection. I didn't know Thomas because I was born many years after he died, but I did know some of the people that he worked with, and they were icons in my life, just as he was. Here's a guy who brought to us light. In Genesis, the first thing that God created was light. On a material level, Edison brought light to us, and not only in the light bulb, but with a carbon microphone and with the ability to send two messages down the same wire. That light is information. Information, as Tom Stoppel says, is light. So it's an extraordinary thing. But you know, there's another thing that I learned just being in the family. First off, I'll tell you what I didn't learn. I didn't learn how to wire a house. In fact, if I ever did wire a house, the headline the next day would be, Edison's great-grandson electrocutes himself. But I did learn a couple of things. One thing that's key. He taught us by his very life how to dance with the divine. And each and every one of us can do it. He said that. The 1%, we're only using 1% of our capabilities, and each and every one of us can do it. Let me tell you a few things that he showed us, a few of the steps of dancing with the divine. One of them was find the people that are brightest and surround yourself with them. And each of us knows those people. They're bright eyes, and they're all around us. You have to look for them, but they're all around us. Associate with those people and work with them together, just as you have today to bring this beautiful event together. Another is, when the tough gets going, keep going. If it's right, do it, and don't give up. So many times you hear the Olympic athletes, the top stellar people, they say, I thought I was going to lose, and I just put the last ounce in, and it was just enough to do what the other guy cracked. So if it means something to you, don't give up. Next thing, have fun. Whatever it is, have fun in whatever you're doing in your personal life or your business life. And I don't mean don't work. Working hard can be fun. You can do both. But if you don't enjoy it, find your bliss and follow that. And finally, and this is pretty important, if you really want to dance with the divine, help other people, just as the Rotarians do and many of the community organizations that we all know, and all the individual stories of people that have helped each other down through the years. And if we learn those steps, each and every one of us do, we will do what Thomas Edison did, and that is to dance with the divine. And thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for your comments. Very, very strong. Now I'd like to introduce Rotarian and member of the United States House of Representatives, Representative Candace Miller.
Thank you, Lee. Good afternoon. I can't tell you how absolutely delighted that I am to be here today. This is going to be a great week. It's a great day, certainly, for the city of Port Huron, but it's a great week for the Blue Water area. Generally, there's so many different events, and it's especially an honor to meet so many members of the Thomas Edison family. It really, I think, for all of us, makes this such a much more personal event when we have these family members here. And so even though it's a little chilly, I think we should give them another warm round of applause, a warm Port Huron welcome to all of them so very much for coming. I certainly appreciate that. And you know, I had an opportunity to meet Mickey Rooney when I was just over at the Thomas Edison Inn. I walked into the lobby, and there he was standing there. I went, oh my gosh, here's Mickey Rooney. You know, thinking about, and he'll be up here very shortly, of course, and thinking about all the different films that we have seen him in. I have to say that my personal favorites were the Andy Hardy movies. I loved all the Andy Hardy movies. But I think we all remember when Mickey Rooney played young Thomas Edison. One scene in that movie that I recall in particular, if you remember, he went out very heroically around the town and gathered up all the mirrors in the town, and then he put them around the bedside of his sick mother so that the surgeons could perform a life-saving operation. So that was really great. And I appreciated so much hearing about the history of the rock. Marcia, you were terrific, telling us all about the history of the rock. I never knew what the history of the rock was. And here we are now to rededicate this rock 125 years after the invention of the light bulb. And I have to say, I was telling some people that I was coming here to rededicate a rock. And a lot of people said, why a rock? But I think if you think about how we rank in importance, certainly in the course of human events, the invention of the light bulb, you might have to go a long way back, perhaps all the way back, something as old as the life of a rock, perhaps, and perhaps back to the Bible. And as Barry Sloan just said, to the book of Genesis, where God said, "Let there be light." And of course, God meant sunlight, which is a great thing, but the only problem with sunlight, of course, it's not out all the time. And so it wasn't until tens of thousands of years later, when Thomas Edison said, "Let there be light," that finally we had light for the other half of the day. So I think that's an important thing. The significance, certainly, of his invention can never be overemphasized or exaggerated in any way, because the electric light was really the spark that sparked off the Industrial Revolution and so much of the technological breakthroughs that have occurred in modern times since then. But you know, he gave us so many other gifts as well, not only the light bulb, but it was amazing for me as I started to hear about some of the other things he had done. I guess I hadn't realized. Certainly the phonograph. You think about the motion picture camera, which really let all of us see the enormous talent of a person like Mickey Rooney or so many other. And so this week, as we celebrate Thomas Edison and enjoying all of the different events, as I say, that we're going to have on Thursday night, it was mentioned we're going to be lighting up the Blue Water Bridge, all of these different events that are happening. Let us also remember another contribution that Thomas Edison made. And that, I think, was his contribution to the image that the entire world has of America and of Americans. Because I think possibly his greatest gift to all of us and to the entire world was his representation of the American spirit, quite frankly. And we certainly are all very familiar with the old adage that good old American ingenuity. It certainly describes the can-do attitude of Americans. And our ability, really, to take on any problem and to come up with a solution as well. And the ability and the desire to work hard certainly is a part of our legacy. And Thomas Edison, even though he was a genius, never thought of himself as a genius. In fact, he always said that his inventions were just a result of good, plain old hard work. And as we remember one of his most famous quotes, that genius is 1% inspiration and 99% inspiration, he certainly made us recognize that through hard work we can accomplish anything. And I would also say, finally, that I think it's important to note that this is an individual that was not born into the privileged class. I mean, if you can think about a young boy that spent his childhood in the town and city of Port Huron, we can think about these geniuses, these individuals that come from any town, any city, anywhere in America, quite frankly. And so I think that the creativity, certainly, and the genius, the ingenuity of America are certainly as strong today for any young child in America, anywhere, as they were during Thomas Edison's time. So I would just say thank you very much to Thomas Edison for all of the gifts that you have given, certainly the city of Port Huron, the state of Michigan, the entire world, quite frankly. And Thomas Edison, we'll keep a light on for you. Thank you very, very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, would you stand, please? Our guest of honor today, Mr. Mickey Rooney.
Ladies and gentlemen, honored guests, the great Edison family, and you, the American public. Thomas Edison was an idea man. He wrote them down, he thought about them, and he accomplished much. Do you realize that that same advantage that he had is yours today? At this moment, you can ask yourself every day, every night, every moment of your life, what have I accomplished? What have you done that's lasting? You know, motion pictures is just one of the inventions of Thomas Alva Edison. And I'm not going to name the many. The phonograph, the light which we honor at this moment. But there are many things that he invented, and we haven't the time. When he was 24 years old, he had 275 patents. Coming, they're after me. But friends, I had the opportunity of making many pictures. In fact, 350, more than anybody in the motion picture business today. Some of you might remember Boys Town, Men of Boys Town with Spencer Tracy. Do you know how long it took us to make that picture, Boys Town? 2 weeks. A week in the studio and a week in Omaha, Nebraska. And there were many, many more pictures I made. Some of them were good. Others were so bad they weren't released. They escaped. But everybody asks me wherever I go about young Tom Edison. And that thrills me to have been given the opportunity. Directed by Norman Turog. The directors were different in those days, and they knew what they were doing. George Bancroft played my father, and my mother was a wonderful actress by the name of Lynn Carver. But I want to say that I am honored to be here today, and the great Edison family, which I have met. And I want to thank everybody for letting us be a part of this great celebration of the 125th year of Thomas Alva Edison's light bulb. Can you think of what you would do without lights? Just for a moment. It's scary to think about it. Don't take anything for granted. Remember this, that your family and your friends are the real wealth that you have. And he knew that. And Thomas Edison's last words, they asked him, what do you think was your greatest invention? What do you think? That's right, he said, the mind of a child. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and have a lovely afternoon.
Again, Mark Neal.
I think you can be heard.
You think I can be heard? All right. This is a special day for me as well. My uncle on my mom's side helped set this rock 75 years ago. And also, my grandfather rode the train with Mr. Rooney back in 1940 from Detroit back to Port Huron. So it's my pleasure today. We not only have the key to the city, Mr. Rooney, but we also have a certificate of recognition that I'd like to read. Whereas Mickey Rooney is an 83-year veteran of show business, having started at the age of only 15 months, and at one time was the #1 box office star in the nation. And whereas Mickey Rooney first visited the city of Port Huron in 1940 when he attended the world premiere of the movie Young Thomas Edison as its star. And whereas Mickey Rooney has many film credits including Boys Town, Strike Up the Band, A Midsummer Night's Dream, Girl Crazy, Captain's Courageous, Breakfast at Tiffany's, It's a Mad, 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 Mad World, Pete's Dragon, and many more. And whereas on October 17th, 2004, Mickey Rooney returned to the city of Port Huron to participate in the 125th celebration of the light bulb. And whereas Mickey Rooney has made a long-lasting impression on all of us who have enjoyed his illustrious career. Now therefore, I, B. Mark Neal, by the authority vested in me as the mayor of the city of Port Huron, and on behalf of council members Kutcher, Haynes, Jacobs, Fisher, Prox, and Steinborn, do here issue this certificate of recognition to Mickey Rooney and welcome him back to the city of Port Huron and extend to him a warm welcome and thanks for the wonderful career that we've all had the privilege of enjoying. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
We got another quick surprise for you. Is the band ready with this one? Go ahead, please. Wonderful. One of your favorite songs, I understand.
Yes.
Oh, that's great.
Ladies and gentlemen, though we're having fun, let us not forget our troops in Iraq. I'm a veteran of foreign wars. I served in the Army as a private. I was attached to different armies. And I was with the 7th Army, and General Bolling recommended me for the Bronze Star. And I wear it today with pride. Of all the things I have, don't forget our country. That's important.
Wonderful, wonderful. It's just a pleasure to have you here.
Mr. Rooney, back when you were in Port Huron in 1940, I don't know if they presented you with a key, but if they did, throw it away because nothing works with that key. I'd like to give you a new key to the city, and there's a lot of changes that's gone on. I think you've noticed those, but Mike, congratulations.
Thank you. This is enough for me, and I want to thank you, people of Port Huron. It's a pleasure and a wonderful thrill to be back here. And God bless the United States.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rooney. We just delight to have you here with us today. Let's move on. John Hauser has got some special things he wants to get with some essays. John?
Well, I'd have to say you should agree that Mickey Rooney was a delight to have here in Port Huron. He was certainly the smartest one in the group. He stayed in his car. Before I introduce the essay winner for 2004, I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge a few people who put a lot of hard work into this. First of all, John Berry and Betty Dunn of the city for the great job that they did in preparing all of this for us today. For a small town newspaper with a circulation of about 40,000, I think you'd have to agree the Times-Herald newspaper today had an unbelievable spread on this event. And we also want to extend our thanks to Radio First for all that they have done for us to make this possible. The staff at Channel 6, and also John Hill and his group of students who are going to film this event as a documentary. To City Manager Tom Hutkin, the city's events committee headed by John Ogden for all the work that they have done. Jones Monument, who put all of this together for us as it relates to the monument. And also to Joe Burgett, Karen Thompson, and all those people that helped put all this together as a committee. And by the way, today is Joe's birthday, so you might wish her a happy birthday. And finally, I'd like to thank the group of Rotarians who helped judge this event as it relates to the essay contest, Dr. Gary Sellinger, John Adair, Yvonne Babin, Dr. Robert Coulter, and Karen McClatcher. And then, of course, I would also like to thank Lee Hansen for the great job he's done for us today. Well, now let's get to the essay. With the support of Bill Kimball and the Port Huron Middle School 6th grade teachers, this year's contest had the theme, "What have Thomas Edison's inventions meant to the world?" With over 120 entries, the essay judges selected the entry of Brittany Petho, a 6th grader at Holland Woods. Her teacher is Mrs. Hammond, and I believe she's here today, and also her parents, Tim and Kim Petho. So here to read her essay is Brittany Petho.
What have Thomas Edison's inventions meant to the world? E is for energy he gave to the light bulb. D is for darkness without the invention of the light bulb. I is for the incandescent light that he invented. S is for being the 7th child in his family. O is for his optimistic mind. N is for the name of a famous person who once lived in Port Huron. Thomas Alva Edison was born on February 11, 1847 in Milan, Ohio. Thomas was the 7th and last child of Samuel and Nancy Edison. When he was 7, his family moved to Port Huron, Michigan, and lived here to the age of 16. Thomas actually had 1,093 patents, and since I can't name them all, I chose 3 that I felt were very important to the world. Thomas Edison's first great invention was the tin-foil phonograph, which he patented in December of 1877. Some of the uses of this invention were letter writing and dictation, phonographic books for blind people, clocks that announced time, and a connection with the telephone so communications could be recorded. Thomas Edison's greatest challenge was the development of an incandescent electric light. Success was achieved when he lit the incandescent lamp and it burned for 13.5 hours. Thomas led America into the age of electricity and changed the world forever. The light bulb was a better and safer way to light up a dark room or street. For the first time, people had more hours in the day to work and play. Another of Edison's great inventions, and most important to my age group, was the movie projector. In 1903, Thomas Edison produced the first motion picture called The Great Train Robbery. This was a silent movie. Later, he connected the movie projector to the phonograph and produced movies with sound. Thanks, Thomas Edison. Thomas Alva Edison died on October 18, 1931 at his home in New Jersey. He was 84 years old. On October 21st, the night of his funeral, people turned off the lights for 1 minute to honor the wizard who lit up the world. Thomas Edison has been called the most useful man in America, and his inventions changed our lives forever. He turned darkness into light, gave a machine a voice, and allowed pictures to move. He was a great inventor and a hero to me.
For her winning entry, Brittany will be the recipient of the commemorative coin that you all saw that the director had shown us, as well as a replica of the 1897 Edison bulb. There's a little bit more here. I did some research about all of this, what happened in 1929, and I went through the archives of the Times-Herald, and I found that in 1929 that there was another essay contest. And this was sponsored by the Times-Herald and the Rotary Club. First prize was a year's scholarship at the junior college. Now, I don't know what the junior college thing was at that time, but she did tell me the winner that she would have preferred to have gotten second prize because it was worth 25 bucks. But I had to go through several reels to find this winning essay. I had to find it. And then on November 2nd, 1929, the Times-Herald headline says, "Marlette student wins Edison Prize." Well, we found out that this person was a 10th grader at the time. Her name was Vera King. It was open to all the kids in the Thumb area. And I called Bob Coulter, who was a Rotarian, and asked me, do you know anybody in Marlette? And he gave me the name of a person to call, a relative of his. And I asked these people, do you know who Vera I. King is? Oh, sure, we know her. Well, this lady is 90 years old, is still alive. She's been married 60 years to Frank Kumper. Unfortunately, she could not be here with us today. She is blind. She asked me to read this. However, because of the elements, I believe you can entertain yourselves by seeing this in tomorrow's paper. Along with Brittany's essay, you will see Vera's essay, as well as a great article that Bernie Lyons has written for us that in his conversation that he had with Mrs. Kumper. So again, congratulations to Brittany. I thought she did a fabulous job, and we had this step stool here for Mickey, but I guess he didn't need it. But I'm going to turn it back over to Lee, and then we're going to unveil the rock.
I should stand up on, no, I don't think we'll do that. We've got some very special people here today that are going to help us out on this. We have two Eagle Boy Scouts, Nick Woods and Zach Jones, and we have Girl Scouts Emily Kearns and Alexandria James. The four of them will now unveil the rock with its new plaque. The plaque reads, in recognition of the 125th anniversary of the invention of the light bulb, the Rotary Club of Port Huron rededicates the Rotary Rock in remembrance of Thomas Alva Edison, October 17, 2004. You might want to glance at that if you have a moment, because those commemorative coins are embedded in the plaque, and that'll give you a chance to get an idea of what the original plaque looks like, because it is still there. I want to announce that the buses are going to be available to take people back over to the SC4 parking lot in case you need those. And if you have any other questions, we'd be glad to answer those for you up here. Don't forget, if you're looking for those tickets for tomorrow noon, the table is back over here where they can help you with that. Ladies and gentlemen, the ceremony's over. Thank you so much for being here. Thanks to all our wonderful delegates and all. Good night.